We'll start with Glow. I don't want to get too into it because there are rumors that it will not be back for season 4, which is unfortunate. I like the show. I've been hooked since day one, since the second the theme song kicked in and the opening credits rolled. And I'm a big fan of Alison Brie. Betty Gilpin's been in other things. This is the first I've seen of her with season 1. And I've just fell in love. I love the show. I know it's not really my demo. I'm not in the target demo. You watching, listening, probably not in the target demo, but give it a shot. Hey, you've run through some other shows. You got a little free time on your hands. This is an easy watch, folks. You will burn through seasons in a day. Each episode's around half an hour. You got gorgeous ladies of wrestling. I mean, it's right there in the name. How can you go wrong with that? And this was a good season. I mean, it was only 10 episodes. Kind of ended, felt like a mid-season finale, not really a season finale, but it did leave open a lot of doors that they can address in season 4 if they continue. I really hope they do. I don't know how far this show can go. I don't know that it's got a Orange is the New Black type run in it. I mean, Orange is the New Black probably should have ended after season 5. I'm pretty sure that's when we stopped watching. It might have been season 6, but this time around they're in Vegas. That's how season 2 ended. They're headed to Vegas for a 3-month stint, and they're not televised, so they basically just run the same show over and over, night after night. Bash is now married to Rhonda, who's Britannica. That's her wrestler name, and you have that dynamic going on. It's was originally just a last ditch resort effort to get Rhonda to stay in the country. It's a green card scam, but feelings emerge as they always do. And Bash Howard, the producer, executive producer, who is one of my favorite characters on the show. I mean, he's just the lines coming out of this guy, pure gold. And he's kind of dealing with his own sexuality. I think he's bisexual. I don't think he's strictly homosexual. But it's the 80s, and that's a major theme of this season. Homosexuality, the AIDS epidemic, that's coming to the forefront. People are losing loved ones left and right. And it must have been scary. I mean, I was 5 when this show took place. The season actually opens with the Challenger explosion, which I thought was October 87. Don't know where I got that from. It was actually January 86. And what a way to open the show, folks, with Alison Brie as Zoya the Destroya, the Russian character who is, stereotypically communist, talking shit about the United States of America and the Challenger launch, just shitting all over it, talking trash. And of course, the tragedy happens. And that's how they open the season. What a way to open it. From there, we start to see that Tammé, who plays the welfare queen, she's starting to have, she's a little bit on the older side. She's been through this. This is not her first rodeo. So she's addicted to wine and painkillers. And so her back is giving out. And that's kind of a running theme throughout the show. Like, what is her future going to look like? And then you have, of course, Zoya the Destroya is the wrestling name for Ruth, the actress that Alison Brie plays. And she has this kind of Sam and Diane type relationship with a character named Sam, who's played by Marc Maron, which is a relationship that I don't know that I'm on board with. I think it was kind of portrayed as a father-daughter type relationship in the first season. Now there's romantic feelings, and I think they kind of explored it, and they said, you know what, we're going to pull back. It doesn't feel right. But now back in season 3, we're back at it again. Sam says he's in love with Ruth in the hot tub. And she's like, nah, I don't know. And then eventually later on in the season, she admits, yeah, right back at you, folks. Right back at you, friend. And of course, Sam drops the bomb on her that she didn't get the part she wanted in the movie that he's producing with his daughter. And she loses it. And I don't know that I want to see them together. I don't know that really works out. He's on a path for destruction, even though he's trying to salvage himself and his life and his health. You know, he has the heart attack when he's in the office, the producer's office with his daughter. Doesn't even bother to tell his daughter. Daughter gives the keys to his car to his daughter. She drives off, and he just crumples and asks someone to get an ambulance. And you're like, dude, what are you doing? That really struck home for me because my father passed from a cardiac arrest, and it's like every second counts in those kind of instances. And it's like you'd rather die with your daughter. I know what he was trying to go for, and in the moment you're not thinking clearly, but God, you got to tell her, hey, having a heart attack, save my life. I want to live to see you make this movie. Instead, he doesn't. And I mean, my wife, Cassie, was just screaming at the screen, just like, what are you doing, dude? So that was tough to watch. And then, of course, the doctor's like, hey, here are the changes you got to make. And he's like, yeah, I've been making those changes. He's like, all right, well, just stick to it. Don't drink, don't smoke. And he goes home and he celebrates with a drink. And you're like, what are you doing? Do you even really want to live to see your daughter make this move? Do you really want to live to try and have a relationship with Ruth? But I'm not really rooting or pulling for that relationship. I think they work better as good friends. I don't think they work as lovers. The Debbie storyline. Debbie Eagan, who is Liberty Belle in the show, played by Betty Gilpin, who I believe is nominated for an award. I think she's nominated for an Emmy. Could be wrong on that. Great job acting, but her storylines are kind of all over the place. Okay. They got this 3-month stint in Vegas. Now she's got a son, Randy, with her ex, Mark. She's commuting back and forth from Vegas to LA. It's taking a toll on her. She's missing big major events in Randy's life. His first steps, his first words, which, came very close together for some reason. And so when Sandy, the manager of the casino, I think, played by Geena Davis, who did an amazing job, says, hey, we're gonna extend you for the rest of the year, she's not on board because she doesn't know if she can handle it. Bash, on the other hand, he's all in, and he doesn't understand why anyone else is not on board with it. He wants everyone else all in, and they're not, and that's when Bash turns heel. But we touch on Debbie's bulimia, eating disorder, after she does the workout with the showgirls, sees them as these statuesque, perfect figures, which, I mean, we're being honest here. Never been really into the showgirls, the dancers. Betty Gilpin's body, yeah. Okay? I mean, that's, she's almost a cartoon. I mean, she's Nicki Minaj on steroids. It's like, how do you get that figure? And then feel bad about yourself. That's what's so ridiculous about self-image and body image. But she ends up having a burger, some fries, and milkshake with Ruth. They have a little bonding moment. And then, of course, she goes back to her room and forces herself to throw up. And they never really address that in the rest of the show. There's a time jump. That was a big controversial part of the series. This time jump where they're at the 50th show. And then all of a sudden, we see this time lapse. It was cool visually with Ruth sitting, removing her makeup, and then all this shit's going on in the background. And then we're at the 200th show. And you're like, what the hell just happened? And Debbie ends up like hooking up with and hanging out with this guy from Wyoming who's a media magnate, media mogul type guy, Ted Turner type guy. She calls him Tex, even though he's from Wyoming. He owns a bunch of TV stations, all kinds of media properties. So that's a little of a weird relationship. There's a big age gap there. She even acknowledges it in the time she's getting drinks with him, saying like, your sons who are 24, 25, I've been banging guys like that. The valets and the hotel personnel, which, it was a very short scene, but that scene, pretty hot. So if you're thinking like, if you're a guy and you're like, I don't want to see a bunch of chicks in their drama. All right. But you're missing out on boobs. I guess that's the selling point for guys. Boobs. You get to see Alison Brie's boobs, Betty Gilpin's boobs. A lot of hot sex scenes. So if you're not there for the drama, stick around for the sex. I don't know that we want to go in episode by episode. Ruth has her issues with Russell, her boyfriend. The long distance thing is still playing it's driving a divide between them, and she's trying to compensate for her affections and feelings for Sam by clinging to Russell and then pushing him away. They introduce this new character, Bobby, who runs a drag show, and too much Bobby. I'm sure people loved it because drag shows are so in. I'm not anti-drag show. Do what you love. Not going to knock it. Just too much of the guy. Just too much. There are plenty of other personalities and characters. And he's a magnetic guy. Electric guy. He draws attention. He knows how to stir a response, get a reaction. But you have all these characters that are just hanging out. That big chick, Reggie. What's her deal? Dawn and Stacy that play the biddies, Edna and Ethel. They just kind of come in, say some homophobic shit, and then fade into the distance. So, if we're going to rank episodes, really like the Freaky Tuesday episode 5, and anytime this happens when you're in a Vegas residency or a show and you're just doing the same shit night after night, I can't imagine. I would lose it. But they found a way to get around it. They decided, hey, we're going to play each other's characters. And this is where you start to dive into the, and it's funny. And they pulled it off. But there were, I guess some problematic things that pop up, and you get claims of cultural appropriation. And so the show does it balances, it toes the line. It doesn't get too heavy and heady. It knows when to pull back and pull a joke, but it also explores some pretty serious topics without getting too preachy. And I think that's what I like so much about the show. Cons, the Jenny Melrose conflict where, Jenny is she's Chinese Cambodian, plays a character named Fortune Cookie, which, yikes. And so, she's understandably upset. She's doing the same racist shit night after night. And she wants to change. And it's understandable. And then to see her friend Melrose, who's Jewish, do a pretty over-the-top interpretation of her fortune cookie character, I think that really set her off. And the thing with that is, and no one wants to hear this from a straight white dude, I get it. But Jenny, and this doesn't serve the purposes of TV. So the writer part of my brain, the screenwriter part, the scriptwriter part says, I get it. I understand why you're drawing out this conflict. Maybe you need to fill time. Maybe you want to build attention. But it's really, and this is the foundation for a lot of conflict and tension in screenplays and scripts. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it's this could be easily solved. But miscommunication. It's the basis of what drives people nuts, and it can either draw you in or it can push you away. And in this case, and with the case of Artie and Yolanda, their relationship, Beirut and Junk Chain, respectively, I think. You look at these two relationships. It's a friend and a friend, two best friends, and then the other one is two potential lovers. One girl who is firmly, I am gay, I am a lesbian, and the other one who's questioning her sexuality. I don't know. I kind of like being with you, but I don't know if this is strictly you or maybe you and guys. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. And then the two best friends just talk it out. Like you're in the fucking desert. Outward Bound, episode 6. They're in the desert. Talk it out. You're on a rock. There's no one around. Your friend is coming to you and saying, hey, I need to figure this out. I don't want you mad at me. What can I do to rectify the situation? I don't understand it. Let's delve into it a little bit more. And instead, you're pushing that person away. You're walking away from them. You're ignoring them. You're just very critical of them. There are a lot of ignorant people out there. I'm ignorant as fuck. Just walk us through it. And I know sometimes it takes longer than you like, But if we get the context, 99% of the time, we're going to come around on it and we're going to understand it. So Jenny's Chinese Cambodian. She had to endure the Cambodian genocide, which, almost 2 million people died in a 4-year span, like almost a quarter of Cambodia's population. And she had to, her and her family had to go through that. But none of us knew. I didn't know. I don't, I'm not a history buff. And Melrose sure didn't know. She's Jewish descent, so she's talking about Seder and, being Jewish and what that means to her and who she's lost and how she deals with, the Holocaust and all that. Jenny's kind of just rolling her eyes, and it's like, you just share, connect. But while people have issue with that and take issue with it, that's what gives you the emotional release during that campfire scene in the desert. That is what gets the tears squirting and rolling out your eyeballs, is you finally find out, okay, this is what's bugging you. And I was, not a fan of how you were acting, but now I understand. The Yolanda Artie thing on the other side of the coin, I don't know. I felt for Artie the whole time. Yolanda was definitely the antagonist in that entire chain of events. You have a woman that is just trying to figure it out with you, looking to you for guidance, and you turn your back and your shoulder on her multiple times. And that sucked. And I still think Yolanda's in the wrong. And Artie's trying to, she's discovering herself, and by the end of this season, she's like, okay, yeah, I'm gay and I'm proud. And this is after the fire at the drag show club when, they were forced to evacuate and they come out and there's all these slurs all over the place. And she could have run and could have been like, you know what? I don't think I want to be part of this community because we're being hunted, we're being targeted, and I'm going to face a lot of scrutiny and it's going to be really bad. Instead, she's like, no, fuck that. Give me the rainbow colored headband. I'm going to wear it until the day I die. Now, that's one way to do it. The other way is Bash, who is closeted, ashamed of what, his longings, his desire for men. And it's mostly in part because of his ties, his family ties, the fact that he has Birdie, his mother, who is very, buttoned up conservative, like wearing the Barbara Bush type outfit. And he's worried that he's going to lose that. What does he do without money? He looks at himself as the bank, not even the bank. He needs the bank in order to survive. And people come for the money. So he needs the money and he needs that tie to his family. And so when his mother finds out he's married, he doesn't know how she's going to respond to Rhonda. Her and Rhonda go shopping. They bond. And then we find out, she's going to forego the waiting period for inheritance and give him the $40 million. So now he's got that money, a huge sum of money, that if he comes out and says to anyone, hey, I'm gay or I'm bi, it's a lot of money to kiss goodbye. So while Artie, who doesn't have that, and is also, in a worse off position because she's A, a woman, and B, she's got brown skin, whereas Bash is white and a male. So it's like in the pecking order of things, she's, not higher up, and yet she is more willing to come out, and Bash wants to stay in his safe spot. And Bash turned heel. He definitely turned heel this season. And I'm not saying I didn't like him anymore. He was one of my most favorite characters coming into the season. Then he turns heel and you're like, okay, is this the real him? And then you find out, no, the guy's just scared. He's scared of what he's done, especially that threesome with Paul the Gigolo, who is somehow Melrose's boyfriend. I don't know how that works. And Rhonda, his wife. and he feels, and it was good. I mean, you know, I didn't think I would be into that, but it was all right. And now I'm, you know, I'm looking around like, whoa, do I need to figure some stuff out? but it was hot. It was good. But yet the next day he wants the guy fired. It's like the guy doesn't even work there, Bash. So, I know a lot of people like the character arc for Sheila, the she-wolf. Yeah, okay. You know, that same kind of self-discovery character arc where it's like I'm holding on to this one way of life because it's felt safe and it feels right, and I don't want to open myself up or be vulnerable or express myself in this other way, you know. And she ends up ditching the she-wolf costume and has one of the bigger pops in the series when she shows up as Liza Minnelli at the wrestling event, the Freaky Tuesday event. And then when she has her monologue at the end at the charity ball. So yeah, I mean, that episode 9, the Libertines with the charity ball, I mean, that was like one of the better episodes. You know, Geena Davis steals the show and the showgirl outfit. I mean, holy shit. I think she's like in her 60s, maybe. Someone said 60, 63, and still be able to pull it off. That's impressive. I can't imagine what I'm going to look like when I'm 60. It's not going to be pretty. And then, you know, the finale was, I mean, I'm a sucker for Christmas type stuff. I mean, when Christmas rolls around, like the whole month of December and even that last week in November is just like, we need to find Christmas. We just watch Christmas movies, Christmas movie after Christmas movie after Christmas movie. It's all we do. So the finale being a Christmas special is like, okay. And I know a lot of people were upset with the lack of wrestling in this season, and that's a valid argument. The thing is, you know, they tried to like mix it up with the Freaky Tuesday and with the Christmas Carol special they put on. But like, you know, the Vegas residency, it's like, you don't mix it up. You don't mess with a good thing. If it's working for you and you're getting people and you're selling out, you don't want to fuck with it too much. The Christmas Carol one, people complaining like, oh, there's no wrestling. Can you imagine? And I actually had this thought go through my mind. Like, if you bought tickets to a wrestling show and it was not advertised that there's going to be a Christmas Carol, I assume it wasn't advertised as a Christmas Carol. I mean, they were acting as if it weren't, but I can't imagine that flying. But if they didn't, like, showing up, expecting wrestling and getting a Christmas Carol, I mean, like, bizarre, but it worked. I don't know, for me, I mean, we didn't get to see the full show. We just saw snippets here and there, but it seemed like the crowd was enjoying it. But yeah, a lot of people were like, could you imagine going to see a wrestling event and they put on a show, the Christmas Carol? It's like, well, that kind of happened to me. We went down for Myrtle Beach. I went down to Myrtle Beach for Christmas, and we went to, what's it called? A Pirate's Odyssey. It's kind of like medieval times, but with pirates. Okay. I've never seen this show before. I know what medieval times is. I get what they're going to do with the pirates, and they put on a full-on Christmas Carol show. And it's like, holy shit, worlds colliding, like pirates doing Christmas Carol. It was weird, but it worked, and I think it worked here. They still had some wrestling incorporated. But, you know, hopefully there is season 4, because they did leave a lot of loose threads, a lot of open ends. It's like Debbie fought so hard to figure out her situation with her son, and she finally caves and brings him to Vegas, and then it's like we never see that fucker again. He had his little baby's day out moment where he's wandering around the casino getting in trouble, and then he's never seen again. And you assume, I guess, she moved in with this guy Tex in his place in the Vegas area, and I guess the baby's there. Just be nice to let us know, hey, he's there and he's okay. And of course, I mean, I had my doubts about Tex. I was like, oh boy, is this just going to be Debbie being a gold digger and she's going to just latch on this guy because he's got money and power? And But he actually turned out to be a pretty cool dude until the very end when he's talking with her about the deal to buy the TV station in LA. And he's like, hey, thanks for coming to the dinners. You help make them less painful, but you're my girlfriend. Hopefully you'll be my wife. I don't want to see you. I don't want you to see me ugly. Which, I mean, that's what relationships are, aren't they? The good, the bad, and the ugly. So she feels, that was kind of a heel turn. And so that's when she took the deal to Bash, and Bash was drunk as fuck. That was an emotional scene. When he just starts crying and he's in her lap and Betty's lap or Debbie's lap. And he's like, I don't want to die. I was just like, if you can't relate to that shit, check your heartbeat. He's thinking about Florian, his butler that I assume he had a relationship with, who actually passed from AIDS. And he has that inner struggle, that inner conflict of like, there's this community that I don't want to identify with, but I'm innately tied to because of who I am and because of my sexual preferences. And I know I'm not supposed to be that, and I can't be that because of X, Y, and Z, but I have this tie to them, and I don't want to turn my back on them, even though on the surface, externally, I'm going to do whatever it takes to disassociate. I can't help myself. And he's scared. And even at the end, when he's talking to Rhonda and he's like, hey, I love you. We're start a family. Go back to LA. All that stuff. It's the city. He blames Las Vegas. And he doesn't blame himself or anything else. He just blames Vegas. Which the most unrealistic thing about the show is the lack of cocaine. I don't think I saw any cocaine in this show. Maybe once. I don't know. But the fact that no one developed an addiction or anything, like Cherry Bang, she gets nabbed for owing the casino like $5,000. She's $5,000 in debt and somehow makes up that money mud wrestling, which I had my doubts at first, but then you realize that there are people who are gambling on these matches. And so that makes a lot more sense. That's why she didn't turn. I mean, when you first see her in that disguise, that costume, you're like, she's a hooker now. And you're like, okay, maybe not a hooker, stripper. And she's a mud wrestler. And then I like the direction they took there. It's just kind of hard to believe that she made $5,000 in a week. It's like, what are you doing? Are you making that with glow? Might want to stick to mud wrestling full time. But according to the Hollywood Reporter, season 4 will be heavier on the wrestling, which it's funny that there are like, you go on Reddit, and it's where I get most of the information that I'm reading off to you is Reddit. But like, people are like thirsty. Got a thirst for wrestling. They want to see like a lot of wrestling in this show. And it's like, I mean, how much wrestling do you need? I admit there wasn't a lot this season, and there's going to be more next season. So that's good. But it's interesting to see, these people who are just like jonesing for wrestling. So that's Glow season 3. I get excited whenever a new season comes out, and season 4 will probably come out next summer, I assume. And, if Betty Gilpin wins the award, I think Alison Brie might have gotten nominated for an award. So if they keep getting nominated and winning, that's tough to cancel. I also read that Netflix only gives shows like a 1 month. 1 month. You got 1 to impress us, or we'll cancel you. We'll pull the plug, which is insane.